and we put it all together, start putting a design together, and then we shop, or we put out an Amazon registry list and people can shop and buy the things that are going into that room transformation. And then we set a room transformation day. Again, when the child is not there, they never see us. We get in bright and early and we go to town. We get everything out of there that the parent or caregiver has told us to take away. And we have put down new flooring, painted walls, done murals, light fixtures, new furniture, bedding, decor, always a new mattress. And we put their name in their rooms. We want to make sure that they know this is their room. All of these things are theirs, because sometimes they walk in disbelief, like, whoa, this is all mine, especially if it's a kinship type placement and they've been placed with grandma or a friend of the parents or something like that.
Leaders are not born in a womb. They are forged through heat, pressure, and a whole lot of sweat. The Fire Forged Leader podcast serves the audience through exploring leadership at work, in the community, and with the family, using a practical perspective and real-life experiences from the host, Steve Baumgartner, and his guests in The Forge. Now, it's time to enter the Forge with the Fire Forged Leader.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Fire Forged Leader podcast. Over the last couple weeks in this series, we've heard from some amazing people that have had some periods of time that were filled with some horrific incidents. We've also met some really great heroes working on the front lines. But I also want to mention that some heroes work in the background. They're not necessarily fighting those monsters out on the front lines, but they fight what's left behind. And today we have Susie Vybiral with us today. Hopefully I said that right.
Perfect.
And she's one of these heroes. She's the founder of Redux, and she's in the victim healing business, is what I'm going to call.
I like that.
So welcome to the show, Susie. I'm just going to go ahead and let you have the stage. Tell us a little bit about you and, what is Redux?
Thanks for having me, Steve. How much time do we have? Because I could talk forever. Warning you.
We'll try and cut the whole thing off at an hour. So,
okay. Redux, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we transform the rooms and lives of children who have faced sexual and physical abuse. We do this anonymously, so the children never see us. And we do this in one day. It's super cool. It's volunteer based, and we get our referrals from counselors, psychologists, CPS, the FBI, law enforcement. We have to know that the child or the children are in counseling for the trauma, or they've been through counseling for that trauma. That's a crucial part of the healing puzzle. And then once we get the referral, we go to the house when the child is not there, and we assess the room. We measure all of the walls, the windows. We take pictures of everything, the floor, the ceiling, and we have a questionnaire where we ask the parent or the caregiver, what colors does she love? What colors does she hate? What kind of animals does he like? What does she want to be when she grows up? Is there a particular religion in the home? Is there something they would like in their room? And we put it all together, start putting a design together, and then we shop, or we put out an Amazon registry list and people can shop and buy the things that are going into that room transformation. And then we set a room transformation day. Again, when the child is not there, they never see us. We get in bright and early and we go to town. We get everything out of there that the parent or caregiver has told us to take away. And we have put down new flooring, painted walls, done murals, light fixtures, new furniture, bedding, decor, always a new mattress. And we put their name in their rooms. We want to make sure that they know this is their room. All of these things are theirs, because sometimes they walk in disbelief, like, whoa, this is all mine, especially if it's a kinship type placement and they've been placed with grandma or a friend of the parents or something like that. So we have to make sure that they know that it's all for them. And then we split before they come home, and they come home to a brand new, fresh start. And the feedback that we get is absolutely phenomenal. It's she's sleeping in her room and she hasn't slept in her room in 5 years, or he's having friends over and he's keeping his room clean and she's making better grades. He stopped cutting, all kinds of things. And what I'm hoping too is that on a larger scale, and I won't geek out too much. Sometimes I do. I'm getting my doctorate in psychology. So I like to go the brain way and to think, what changes can be made down the road. But we're hoping to break the cycles of abuse. So we want them to know that the world is not such a scary place, and that there are people who love and care about them, who don't even know them, and who expect nothing from them. And that's what we do.
That is an awesome mission to start with.
I love it.
So how did you get into this field? How did you really figure that this was a need that needed to be met?
Well, I've always had a heart for children, for the innocents. And I was a family advocate at a children's advocacy center for 3 years and 3 months. And daily, I heard the atrocious, unfathomable things that are happening to children. Unthinkable. And I would hear then from the parents and caregivers when they would bring them to the CAC for counseling, those things that she's not sleeping in her room still, and all these things that, they're in counseling, but they don't see the healing going on. They're afraid to be in their room. They're afraid of the dark. They're coming in the middle of the night and sleeping on the floor in mom and dad's room, things like that. And I thought, well, my goodness, these children are going back to a room where abuse occurred, or there are triggers in the room. But honestly, even if it didn't happen in the room, they still deserve that fresh start. There's one of our room transformations. It was the Blossom room transformation. And the little girl, when she had been sexually abused, she had been drawing little pictures on her dresser, just on the side of her dresser. Now, the abuse didn't happen in that room. So the dresser had nothing to do with the scenario, but every time she looked at the pictures, she was now 12, she would think of that time period when she would see the pictures that she was drawing at the time of the abuse. So it was a major trigger for her. And I don't even think she really realized it. She did once we took it out, and she told her mom, the furniture doesn't have any of my drawings on it anymore. And so even something like that, changing the furniture, changing the position of the bed, especially if abuse happened in the room.
Right.
Just changing the position of the bed can help a lot. And we pay attention to the ceiling. Sometimes we paint the ceiling, or we'll put pictures or picture frames, fun things on the ceiling, just to make it different for them when they look up.
So that young lady that you're talking about, these, just so that I understand, these drawings that she was doing weren't really connected. They were just happening at the same time frame, on the same timeline. So they brought her back into that place.
Yep. They were those typical little 5-year-old people drawings where they draw the circle and the stick legs and arms. Mm-hmm. Just those little pictures. Fun story though, that little girl and her mother actually years later came to a room transformation, helped transform another child's room, and they purchased things for the room. Absolutely amazing. And that little girl mentors other children who are cutting or who are having suicidal thoughts and adverse childhood experience reactions. She now mentors them, and she's a cheerleader.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So do you make connections with these families and these children in these situations, or do you?
Sometimes, not with the children, because we don't see them. We want it confidential, anonymous. And also, maybe there was a situation where the child doesn't trust mom because her boyfriend or her ex-husband abused her. And so she might feel that mom doesn't really love her, or there's a trust factor going on. We tell them, tell her you did it. Tell her you transformed the room, or you hired somebody, and bridge that relationship, get that back together, because it's not about us. We don't need to know, but we keep in touch with the family. We try to find out how they're doing a week later, a couple months later. And then, for instance, we have our big gala coming up in New Braunfels, Texas, October 21st. You're invited. And one of the moms of 3 children whose rooms we transformed and a game room is coming. She's speaking again for the 3rd year in a row, which is cool because then we get to hear how the trajectory of these children's lives have changed over even 3 years since we did their room transformations. Gives me chills.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
It's neat.
So we've heard about what the organization does. And, you know, I mean, you packaged a lot into that little bit. You go in and you totally transform these rooms. You mentioned that you do it with volunteers. You mentioned that you set up basically shopping carts that people can fill beforehand. What kind of timeline are we talking from the time that you're connected with the family, with the child, and completion?
We aim for about a month. That gives us, you know, a good 3 to 4 weeks of planning, designing, shopping time, making sure everything gets to us. I mean, a lot of times we will shop local, or local businesses will donate. That's when it's best, when we get flooring for free or we get paint for free because they donate furniture, things like that. But yeah, it's around a month. When I first started Room Redux, we had about a week turnaround, and that was nuts. And one time we had 2 room transformations in 1 week, 2 different houses, 2 different families on a Monday and Friday. And I realized, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore. Let's give ourselves some time. And it's always different too, because the scope of the project depends on how many children are in one room, or how many rooms in the house are we doing. For instance, this past April, we transformed 7 rooms. One was a bathroom for 6 children in one house in Uvalde, Texas.
I never even thought about that, but you're talking 6 children in one house that were sexually abused, and it was a whole family care package is really what it was.
It was a lot.
Yeah. I would imagine. I never even thought about it on that scale. You know, I mean, you think about it, you think about one child in that situation, but yeah, large families, myself included, right?
Right.
They could very well scale out that far.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you also talked about volunteers. So these volunteers that you're getting in, I would imagine that some independent contractors, things like that, some retired people. Am I getting the?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, it's good to have contractors because then they know how to do things. But I tell everyone, come and volunteer and have a good time. We always need somebody to put down or put furniture together, take stickers off of stuff, pick up lunch and bring it to us. And a lot of times volunteers get to be friends. They're together for 8 hours doing this wonderful thing. So they become friends. They can also learn how to do something. Maybe you want to learn how to paint and you've never painted before, or you want to learn how to put down furniture. So it's a cool thing. It's cool for them too. And it's often cathartic because a lot of times they'll tell me that they were victims of abuse. So it can be very cathartic for them.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah. Yeah. And
so there's a high rate of those type of people that are volunteering, maybe never said anything, but this is a nice healing process.
Yes. And every single time I speak somewhere, every single time, inevitably somebody comes up to me and, you know, they'll say, where were you when I was little? And yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah. And I'll say too, you mentioned the superheroes in law enforcement and the trafficking scene that are rescuing children, and they're superheroes. That's how I see them. Just amazed. We have our one chapter, Room Redux Sacramento, and it's a husband-wife team. They're the executive directors, and the husband, Ryan Smith, he is a detective for Sacramento County. He's also on the FBI and the HSI task force, and he has told me it's so healing for him because they're on the rescuing side. They're getting the children out of the situations, but then they don't know what happens to them and they leave. And so now he gets to help on the healing side too. And it's good for him. So,
yeah, I can imagine that would be, you know, the weight of that is just tremendous. I think it was Nietzsche that, you know, talks about staring into the abyss and, staring into darkness for so long that you get consumed by it. And I often pray for people like Kevin and Ben Owen and, people that I know in law enforcement who deal with this, because it's a tremendous amount of darkness. So that's awesome what you're saying about this gentleman, that he's finding healing through this, because they're out there trying to be tough all day, right?
Right. Exactly.
Nobody ever thinks about them.
Exactly. One of the superheroes, Jim Cole, retired HSI. His wife Diana is on our board now, which is awesome. They came down for the Uvalde, Texas room transformations and worked their heinies off alongside FBI guys who were out there, because it was an FBI referral. And yeah, it was neat. It was just really neat to see all of them knowing what they've, not even knowing, suspecting what they've seen and heard and the situations they've been in. And now here they are getting to make these children's rooms beautiful.
That is wonderful. This is an awesome story so far. I mean, it's healing for me right now, because I've been hearing all the rest of these stories, and I'm getting really fast and really deep into this world. And it does have a weight that comes. My wife and I were talking about it the other day, and she goes, Steve, I'm really scared about you getting into this world.
Oh.
And I'm like, I understand that. I'm scared myself, to be honest with you. She goes, I'm glad you're doing it. Don't get me wrong, but I am scared because of the darkness around it. And, we're definitely Christians, so we worry about the spiritual effects and different things like that. So you can feel that darkness for sure.
You can, but the way I look at it, like I always say, I mean, very often when I'm in a room and I'm talking about this stuff, I feel like, oh gosh, I'm a downer probably when I'm talking to people, because I know what I know and I want them to know, because we can't stick our heads in the sand. And I don't harp on it, because then I'll talk about what we do with Room Redux. But I feel like we're lights shining in the darkness. We're beacons of hope that come in, whether you're on the rescuing side, the counseling side, the Room Redux side, like Jessica Lamb, but healing from the tattoos, changing them or removing them, all of that, all of the components that work together, essentially collaboration. We're talking about leadership too. That's all about collaboration to bring the light, to bring the healing. And we can't make light what we don't know. There's probably a better way to say that. All that darkness that is out there, if we don't know about it, we can't bring the light to it to bring the healing. There we go.
Right. I totally agree.
Yeah.
So you mentioned in all that there's different chapters. How many chapters of Room Redux are there right now?
Well, we started right here in New Braunfels, Texas. This is world headquarters, and we now have 17 chapters across America.
Wow.
And we're working on filing in other countries, because what will happen is there will be a chapter in every city, every state, every country, because the statistics are the same everywhere. 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18. And that's just what we know. That's just what's reported. I mean, I'm sure boys are underreported. So knowing those stats, we have to do better. We have to make sure we're helping as many children as we can.
And when we're talking about 1 out of 4 girls and 1 out of 6 boys, first, is that, I may have missed it, but is that worldwide or just the United States?
Oh, it's worldwide. I mean, some people will say 1 in 3, 1 in 5. Some people say 1 in 10 boys and girls. But the truth is that it is happening. It's an epidemic, and it's rampant. And
for sure,
especially with the onset of everything online enticement and grooming and sextortion and trafficking, all of these different avenues that these predators, these pedophiles are going, the lengths they're going to get children it's scary. The world is in your house. If they have one of these, the world's in your house.
Agreed. And well, first I want to tell you, I have a coach who's trying to help, boost my brand with me. Right.
Yeah.
And he talked me into getting onto TikTok. And I fought it and fought it and fought it. And he goes, Steve, you got to get on TikTok. You know, if you want to grow, you got to get on TikTok. Okay. So I get on TikTok, and I swear the first day, every third video was some woman undressing.
Oh,
I mean, it is just amazing how the algorithms out there target people. So if they're going to do that to a grown man, they're definitely going to do that to everybody else in the world, right? Including our children.
absolutely. Because they don't care. They do not care about our children at all, whatsoever.
No, I mean, I don't even know where TikTok's from, China, wherever it is, but they're not caring about United States children. I mean, maybe their own, but definitely not ours.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the whole social media thing. You know, you get on it, and then it's a hamster wheel, and even if you flip by it real quick, it's still in your face, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, it's grown to understand what I like, so I start breaking away from there. There was a second thing I was going to talk about, but I done lost it in the TikTok conversation.
Oh, shoot. Maybe it'll come back to you.
Yeah, so you got these chapters, and it's growing primarily in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
How many people does it really take to get a chapter started? How do they get started in their area? That sort of thing.
Well, people will contact me and I'll vet them. We'll do this or have a phone conversation. I prefer Zoom or in person so that I can get to know the person. And I do make sure and tell every potential executive director, and they're all volunteers, like I said, for now. Anyway, I make sure and tell them I have 2 pet peeves. And I learned to say this early on because I'm a nice person, but also I have pet peeves, and they are lack of communication and people who don't do what they say they're going to do. So if you say that you're going to be an executive director of a chapter of Redux and help children, you got to be doing it. It's too important not to be doing. So it's, and it's happened where sometimes I don't hear from them again. And that's good. That's a good thing. It's not for them. But most of the time, the people that I do vet, it's because they have become passionate. They find out about Room Redux and they become very passionate. So we do that. And then I pass them off to Michael, our COO, and he does an onboarding and talks about protocols and all the accounting stuff, QuickBooks and bank accounts and all that kind of stuff. And
all the fun stuff.
All that fun stuff. Yeah. They come up with the name of their chapter and get a logo together, and then social media. And people say, so what do I do first? Do I get referrals, or do I raise funds, or do I spread the word? And I say, yes. All of those things. You do all of those things all at once.
So these people that are directors, they're it's pretty much a full-time job at that point, because they got to do the fundraising and the media. And
a lot of them have jobs too, so they're doing it in addition. So what we've found to be very super helpful is either have a co-director, whether it's a friend or someone else who wants to be a director in your city, or a spouse, and then have an advisory council. So we have one board of directors for our 501c3, but you can have an advisory council for your chapter where someone does social media, somebody is getting referrals, somebody is raising funds or grants, things like that. So that way it's not all on one person or even 2 people. You have a few people working on it together. That's the best way to do that.
Oh, for sure. And everybody's got their own talents. Not everybody holds the whole bag, right?
Exactly. That I was doing it all in 2019, which is when we got our 501c3 and formed our board. And when I look back to 2019, I feel like I ran 2 marathons every day, every single day. I kind of still feel that way sometimes, but at least it's not just me doing everything now. Thank God.
So that's an amazing growth over a few years.
It is.
I didn't realize that Room Redux hasn't been around for, a couple decades to have that kind of growth. That's amazing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I say we started kind of covertly in 2017 with 2 room transformations, and then we did 3 in 2018 and came up with a name, and then 2019 is when we just exploded because people started hearing about us and the word started getting around. And it's always interesting to me when counselors or law enforcement, when they hear about what we do, if I'm speaking somewhere or spreading the word, they'll just look at me and go, it's a no-brainer. That's right. Change their environment.
It makes sense after you say it, but you think that it's all up here, right?
Yeah. I have a thing in my office hanging over there that says, create the things you wish existed. So that's what we should all do. And that's what you've done with your podcast now. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm sitting here thinking about the environment, and I hadn't told you this part yet, but when I was 22 years old, I was a severe meth addict, and I was looking at 36 years in prison for different things.
Wow.
But through that, I tried 12-step programs and things, and I know those things work for people. For whatever reason, it wasn't clicking with me. But I picked up and I moved. I just totally surrounded myself with different people, different things. The only person that was really in my life that was the same was my older brother, and I went and lived with him for a little while in another part of the state.
Mm-hmm.
But he was always the person who was a constant in my life as well. Before we were adopted and in foster care and what have you, he was always my protector.
Oh.
So I was able to go there and change my surroundings, and I haven't looked back since. Of course, now I'm 48, got a few more decades on me. But that really helped me changing that environment. I changed my habits and everything when I changed my environment. So I'm finding that connection is really cool, and why I wouldn't even have thought about, going in and changing a room, how powerful that could be.
Yeah, but there you go. You went and did it. You changed your whole scene. And I'm sure that made a world of difference. You would have been stuck. You just would have been stuck.
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%. With all those old hood rats and everything else that I used to hang around with. So, yeah. For sure.
Good for you.
So the name intrigues me a little bit, and I should have done a little bit of research, but I just wanted to hear it from your lips anyways. What does room redux really mean?
So
in the physical sense and to you.
When we were trying to think of a name, I remember sitting on the couch, and Michael, my son, and I were trying to come up with the best name. And I like cute and clever. I just do. I mean, like I said, we name every room transformation. And when I was designing all of them in the beginning, the first 62 or whatever it was, I would always give them fun, cute names. Like one of them, they liked Africa. So I called it Safari So Good. Yeah. So I like cute, just cute, fun names. And Michael said, what about Redux? Now, Michael is a genius. College at 16 years old, just brilliant. And I didn't even know what the word meant. I had never heard of the word. And he told me, and we added room to it. And that's how it came about. But Redux, people always want to Frenchify it and say REDO. And that's a bad word. We don't say that around here. That's why we say transform. I don't want you to even think that word. So that you don't pronounce it incorrectly. But Redux is like a transurgence, a revitalization, a coming back. And it's different. It's a different kind. I like different words. I like when we utilize different words in our language. I have a band, and we named our band Salubrious Fox. It's a jazz rock band, and salubrious. Nobody ever knows what that means either. It means healthy, by the way.
Yeah, I'm glad you told me.
Yeah, my word of the day. I like to get word of the day in my inbox, and then somewhere in conversation with somebody, I'll use the word of the day. It's always fun because they don't know what it means, but I didn't either.
So, going to the band, do you play an instrument or are you the singer?
Both.
Both?
Michael is our lead, and he plays 29 instruments, and he's 29. I'm telling him that he needs to learn another one really quickly before he turns 30 in a month. But he does all that. He writes all our songs. I've written a few songs, and then I sing and I play tambourine, not at the same time. It's hard to remember to do when I'm singing. So tambourine, and I'll do like the shaker or the guido, or things like that. Yeah, it's fun. We have a couple of videos on YouTube, and you can listen to us on Apple and Spotify. We haven't done an album in a long time, but we have a ton of songs ready, just waiting to get into the studio.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard for him to keep up when he's 64. Just to let you know. You might want to lower the pressure.
He's going to have to start traveling the world and find some very obscure instruments.
So this is pretty interesting talking about your son now. College at 16.
Yeah.
He's joining you on this journey. You're obviously very close, playing in a band together, running your room Redux together, partnered at the hip this whole journey.
Yep.
So how did you bring him into it, or how did he get involved in the mission?
Well, I worked at the CAC, so I'd get home each day and I talk about the darkness. I would feel drained. There would be times when I would sit out on the steps and just wonder what in the world is going on. Why is this happening? All of these horrible things. And so when I talked to him about what I wanted to do, I think I'm going to start this nonprofit. He thought it was a great idea. He thought it would be very therapeutic for me, and him too, just a fun, good thing to do. And he joined right in. He was all in, and he likes being COO. He doesn't go to many room transformations anymore because he's doing all of the behind the scenes kind of stuff. But he's been to a lot of them, and it's fun working together with him. We've always been very, very close, very close.
That's cool. I hope someday, besides jujitsu, that my kids find some sort of passions with me. So I take them there 3 times a week just to make sure that
oh, that's awesome.
We're connected in some way, shape, or form.
That's cool. I always say we should do all the things. Life is short. Let's do all the things. That's why I have a band and room Redux, and I'm getting my doctorate, and I like to belly dance, and I'm an efficient. I can marry people. I'm writing a book. Why not? And I think my next 2 things after I become Dr. Seuss, get it? I'm going to go for a black belt in something. And I've had 2 different friends say, do jujitsu. It's got to be jujitsu. So.
Oh, there you go.
I think
I love jujitsu. Sorry, I'm going off on this tangent again, listeners, but I just started 6 months ago, and it's an amazing experience because there's a total sense of balance within it.
Oh.
And I'm sure that that's probably true for all the martial arts, but this is going to sound really grotesque, but when I'm getting choked out, I have to remember to stop, breathe, gather myself, feel where I'm at in space, where my opponent's at in space, and then act. And it's so applicable to all of life.
Yeah.
So I would highly suggest.
Yeah, I've never thought about that. Michael took Taekwondo when he was little, but he was a lot younger and didn't get to that point where they would do things like that. But that's true. It's hard to react sanely or rationally if you're panicking and freaking out. So
yeah, for sure.
Wow.
And there, just the balance and I don't know how to explain it, but once that you take those 2 deep breaths in during the middle of that competition, you see things clearly. There's just this ultimate state of clarity, and it kind of reminds me of the Matrix movies, right? Where you can sense different things and what have you. So all right, that's it. I'm getting off the jujitsu But I would definitely try it, Susie. It's
Okay.
a wonderful sport.
Sold.
You just got to be able to take other people's sweat here and there.
Okay, I'll think about it. I do want that black belt, so maybe.
Oh, there you go. You can get it quicker and other things, but jiu-jitsu, I think everybody's told me right around 15 years it takes. So.
Oh, I better start soon. Shoot. Oh my gosh.
That's why I started. I want a black belt too.
Oh my gosh, I'll be 70 if I do jiu-jitsu. Okay, maybe I'll do karate.
But it's also one that people can do for a long time, without getting hurt. So.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
There's some people out there that are 60, 65 that I know.
Yeah.
Getting back to the conversation at hand here. So you were working in advocacy.
Mm-hmm.
You had this idea that sprung up about we need to change these kids' environment if we want true healing.
Mm-hmm.
So you had a couple contacts, but I would imagine that they I don't know, maybe I'm wrong with this, but I would think that they were probably government officials or something like that. How did you start making the connections to build what you have today?
At first, it was counselors because I was close with a couple of counselors that I worked with. And so that's where the referrals came from. And funny that we would talk about that because literally today, the lady who gave me our very first referral back in 2017 just wrote me today and has a 17-year-old child that she would love to have a room transformation done for her. So yeah, at first it was mainly counselors, and then I would go and speak at CPS gatherings or their monthly meetings, and I'd take brochures and take cards. And so it's been CPS, it's been law enforcement. We did have the FBI referral, the Uvalde, but I would say for the most part, it's probably counselors. They're the ones that are hearing the day-to-day and seeing, oh yeah, okay, there's a need for sure. So,
right.
And like I said, that's how we get our referrals. So a lot of times after a podcast or an article or something like that, I'll get emails from parents or caregivers, and they'll tell me what's happened to their child. And I always respond to everybody and of course say, I'm so sorry that happened. And then I'll ask, are they in counseling? And then I'll ask that their caseworker or counselor or even law enforcement that handled the case, that they put the referral in to our website. That way we've got all the information. We know that the perpetrator is out of the picture. We know that the outcry has been made, that they're safe, they're on the road to healing. And that way too, like I said, we tailor every room transformation to each child. We ask all those questions, but then we talk to the therapist or the counselor and we ask, what therapeutic tools do you suggest we put in the room? So there have been times when we put tons of art supplies or music, lots of light fixtures that have Bluetooth in the light fixture, which volunteers always want. They end up getting those on Amazon because they're super cool. Or a big old bean bag with blankets and, like a meditation area, or a punching bag, get their frustrations out, fidget spinners, swishies, those kind of things. That's really helpful because that way they have their counseling sessions, but then in their own space where they now feel safe, where they now feel like it's a sanctuary, they still have those coping mechanisms that they are being told they should use that help them.
So, excuse me, we go from doing this advocacy work. So you're getting referrals from counselors, but you also got to step into this world of funding the whole thing.
Yes.
So did counselors help at first, or did you just have to go start beating on people's doors? How did that look?
It's funny. At the beginning, I feel like we lived room transformation to room transformation, kind of paycheck to paycheck. Each room transformation ranges, well, back then it was about $2,000. Now it's ranging about $2,500, depending on what we get donated, of course. But yeah, I would just have fundraisers monthly. Every single month I was having a fundraiser for the next room transformation. And that looks like a lot of different things. Like I said, I love our mission first, of course, but I love collaboration. And so I like to collaborate with businesses. I have a friend who sells skincare products, a couple different ones, and they'll have a party and then part of the proceeds go to Room Redux. Or now we have 2 big events per year. In the spring, we have Boots and Bubbles, and that's a family
bubbles.
Yeah, family friendly. It's usually outside, and it's what you think. Wear your cowboy boots and your sundress, or your shorts and your flip flops, cowboy hats, and it's super fun. And then in October we have our big gala, which is coming up. So those are our main fundraisers right now for headquarters. But each chapter does their own fundraisers now. And again, I just think it's fun to step outside of the box and figure out how you can collaborate with restaurants or realtors or, roofers. Those are all ours. I didn't do that on purpose. Realtors, roofers, but all kinds of different people. And it's fun because then we splash the business around on social media. So it helps the business, it helps individuals, it helps Room Redux, and it's fun supporting one another.
And do you find it hard to find donors to support the mission?
I don't. I haven't. And I think a lot of it is the way you approach it, the way you look at it. Because I've had volunteers or board members say, "Ooh, I don't know. I don't like to ask for money or ask for," and I tell them, that's not what you're doing. You're giving people the opportunity to transform a child's life, a child who has been through things you can never imagine. That is what you're doing. You're not asking for money. You're transforming their lives. That's an entirely different way to look at it. It shifts the perspective completely. And plus, I always expect a yes.
Always. There you go. How could people not tell you yes, Susie?
How could you not? Please and thank you.
So this is just awesome work that you do. I can't say that enough.
Thank you.
I can tell your passion. It's awesome how it's spreading. A quick question on that. Is it somewhat, is it widespread across the United States, or is it a certain area? Where are the locations at?
Off the top of my head, I can tell you we have 2 in California, 4 in Texas, Colorado, Missouri, Michigan, Nashville, Ohio, Seattle, that's just starting up, Shreveport, Bossier City, Georgia, Las Vegas, Nevada, just went there last Friday for their first room transformation. It was awesome. So Willamette Valley, Oregon. Yeah, kind of spread out.
So it's a shotgun. I mean, there's no reason why people can't get involved.
No reason, no excuse.
No reason at all.
Yeah, and
not
I
just a Midwest thing, not just a Southern thing. It is all over. So
it is all over. And like I said, we're under 501c3, and I did that because let's say, so you're in Kansas City, you're still Room Redux. You just live a little far from me, but we're still all Room Redux. And I tell everyone, if you have donated time, money, furniture, if you volunteered, if you have spread the word on social media, prayed for us, talked about us, done this, then you are Room Redux. And our hashtag is We Are Room Redux, because it takes all of us. In the beginning, my brilliant idea was, we're going to do it very covertly, and nobody's going to know who started it. Nobody's going to know that I'm the CEO or that I'm the founder or anything. In fact, our business cards, I have them somewhere, the originals, the OGs, they have no names on them. So if I gave you a stack of business cards, you wouldn't say, my friend Susie transforms the rooms of children, or Room Redux does this. You would say, we transform the rooms of children who have faced abuse. And you could write your name on it. And I quickly learned that when you're asking for grants or bigger money, they want to know who the face is. And plus, I never shut up about Room Redux, so it's probably pretty obvious. Very obvious.
So just kind of wrap this all up. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my voice here, but
you could drink.
To wrap this all up, there's a lot of opportunities that people can help this mission. It's a wonderful mission.
Thank you.
We can go and pull children out of situations all day long, but until they heal, they're going to keep on reliving these things and what have you. So
Right.
how can people really reach out, help you? Where can they donate at? Where can they sign up to, volunteer if they're in one of those areas?
You can go to our main website, which is roomredux.org. ROOMR. You got it. There it is. Roomredux.org. You're good. And you can see our other chapters and click on those. Or if you want to donate to headquarters, if you want it to go to headquarters, you can say headquarters. If you donate through headquarters, but you want it to go to another state, you can designate where it goes and we'll get it to them. You can volunteer also. If you say you're in a different state on the volunteer form, we can forward it, or you can go to each chapter's website, like nevada.roomredux.org. That's theirs. So it's usually the city or the name of the chapter and then .roomredux.org or just roomredux.org. But we're always looking for volunteers and people to spread the word and people to start chapters, donors, always looking for recurring donors. That's been our big push lately, just, knowing that each month we've got that coming in. But yeah, all of the things, it takes all of the things, and all of the people, all of the time. That is what I found. I had never started a nonprofit before. I had never been a CEO before, and I'm learning as I go. I say all the time, I don't know what I don't know. It's a learning process. I know way more than I knew 5 years ago. That's for sure.
Oh, I bet. Well, whatever you're doing, it's working out because obviously people are attracted to the mission and wanting to help. And 17, you said, right?
Yes.
17. That is amazing. Amazing work. So
Thank you.
God bless you, Susie. I really appreciate having you on here today. I can't say thank you enough for all the children that you've helped and all the families that you've helped through healing, because it's not just the children, it's everything, right? So thank you.
Thank you. And no, we don't have a chapter in Kansas City yet.
Okay, well, I will be involved. I'm not sure about starting a chapter, but I will be involved.
Yay. Awesome.
If I told my wife that I was gonna do an executive director, is that the title? Mm-hmm. Executive director, and keep my full-time job and do this, she'd probably be pretty mad at me right now. So
probably, yes. Where's my time?
That's right. We're running into a little bit of that right now, so I'll hold off on that, but I will get involved. I guarantee you.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Appreciate you, Susie, and I'm going to go ahead and close it out here. Thank you again.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
You have just experienced the heat and pressure of the forge. Remember, words without action are meaningless. Now, after the heat of the forge, shape your thoughts, quench your brain, then put your new tools to use, adding to your leadership. Tune in next week for more lessons from the forge.